What is up, everybody? Emerald Void here, welcoming you to this EDO Pro tutorial on how to make a custom field. This tutorial was actually a user by the name of Juan Pierre Britsky. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, um, but he asked me if I could do this tutorial, and I had already planned on doing this. Sorry it come up later than I said it was going to, by the way. I apologize for that. When I actually recorded it, I didn't realize that my microphone was muted in Streamlabs, and I recorded the whole video, but there was absolutely no audio, so I kind of had to go back and redo it, which is annoying, but it kind of needed to be done because I got a little long-winded during the tutorial, and it just wound up being a lot longer than it needed to be. But I already have a document window open up here. The dimensions will be on screen as always, but the dimensions are 510 by 412. And just like always, you're going to go to your Project Ignis folder and your textures folder, and you will notice that you have multiple fields. So you have field 1, which is, if it's ever going to load, field 1 is your standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Field. Field 2 is the old, pendulums on the left and right. So these are just basically the fields for the different rule sets. And then you have field 3, which is the most up-to-date rule set, having your pendulums and your spell and trap card zone, and you have your link summon zones up here. So field 3 is the one that I'm going to edit, but the process is the same no matter which field that you decide to edit. But I'm going with field 3 because it is, field 3 is the field for the current rule set. Unless they change it, and then the game will just update with a new field, and then I'll make it'll be the same process. Either way, it will be the same process. But what I'm going to do is, like always, I'm going to take field 3. I'm going to drag it over into Photoshop, drop it down. We actually don't have to put it in a different document window. I don't know why I opened a different document to begin with. You're going to notice here that it's got the kind of transparency in the middle there. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to Control-Shift-N and make a new layer. I'm just going to call it layer 2 because I don't care. Drag it under layer 1, and I'm going to make sure that I have black selected, and I'm going to take my bucket and I'm just going to fill that in like so. And that is just so I can see what I'm working with a little bit better. So the way that this works is these squares represent the different zones, and the game is going to grid this out, so you don't have to put any grids here. You just have to have a box that is basically a placeholder. So you've got your extra deck, your field zones, your graveyard, your deck, all the different zones. You have all of that, your link zones, etc. So where you start is completely up to you. Pretty much know that whatever you do on this side is going to be mirrored completely on the left, and vice versa. Really, I think the only difference is it's just inverted, because this is what you're looking at, what you see, and this is, your opponent's side, so it's, like you're sitting down at the table with them. But I'm probably going to time-lapse through this real quick, but I will do the first one to kind of show you how it's done. Actually, the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to take my elliptical tool here, and on the actual Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck zone, I kind of just want to kind of copy that a little. Copy that little circular thing that's on most Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. So in case you're wondering why it's not on there, for some reason it put it under layer 1, so I'm just going to drag that to the top. And I'm just going to, bump it over. Yeah, that's almost perfect. I'm actually going to Control-J to duplicate the layer. And let me just zoom out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that duplicated layer, and I'm going to drag the duplicated one down here. And it may be a little small. It is actually like just a smidge too small, but you can just click your corners and kind of, you can drag it. I'm actually going to time lapse through this until I get it perfect. Okay, that is done. I actually, instead of just trying to readjust the other one, I just decided to duplicate the one that was perfect and copy that over. So that is totally 100% an unnecessary thing. You do not have to do that because you will not see that circle in the game because your actual deck will be in that slot. And if you have a custom cards, or even if you don't have custom cards, your cards will be there, and that will obscure that area. But if the game lasts long enough where you don't have any cards in your library, and that is, something that you can see, then it's, I think it's just a nice little touch extra added on. So I am going to I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one. I actually have I already prepared and got graphics for it because the last time I did this tutorial, I did not prepare, and that took some time to do. So let's just take that and copy that over. So I'm going to be using these icons here. You don't have to. It's completely, it's all up to you. It's unnecessary. But rather than panicking about what I'm going to do, I am just going to go ahead and have them ready to go. I'm just deleting the background layer, like the black basically, for each one of those, or the dark gray, I should say. It's not really black. I probably should have left the middle of that, but it is fine. I'm actually going to leave it just like this. And I know it's going to be pretty big for the thing that I'm working in, so I'm just going to have it floating loose like this and minimize it and go back and forth as I need to. So the main deck, extra deck, left pendulum, right pendulum, graveyard, spell trap, monster. I'm going to go ahead and take my polygonal lasso tool, and it's just because I can, get around this easily without having to worry about selecting anything extra. Whoops. Shit, I fucked up there, and I don't really remember how to get rid of that. Okay. So like there, I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm just going to go ahead and speed through this as I trace this outline. Okay, that actually didn't take as long as I thought. I could have just not speed lapsed it, but I'm going to Control C that. I'm going to go back over to my field. I'm already on it. Going to minimize this. Going to paste it like that. And we see the graveyard. That's really, really big. So we are just going to shrink it down to about like that size. And we're going to put it there. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and duplicate it. We're going to take the layer 3 copy, and we are going to, actually, rather than rotating it, let me just take this one. Honestly, sometimes it's easier just to do the player 1 stuff first, especially if you plan on, that one's not lined up like it's supposed to be. There we go. Especially if you're just going to duplicate everything. If you just get player 1, then all you've got to do is highlight it all, duplicate it, and then flip it, which is actually probably what I'm going to do, just for ease of this tutorial. So we've got our graveyard icon here. Go ahead and turn that off. We've got our deck slots. So let's see. I've got to remember what things are because I don't remember. Got the pendulums done. Basically, what that whole speed lapse was about was I was just trying to get it roughly the diamond, the same size as the diamond that's already on the thing. Just to keep it relatively the same. I'm not actually sure how this is going to work with the circle around it, but I kind of like it. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse through the rest of it, and then when there is something, when I get to the next part, I will, damn it, OBS, go away. I will show you and talk to you about what I'm doing. Okay, so now we have all of our field indicators already done. So what you do to copy them to the other side, just to make this easier, is you over in your layers tab, make sure you start at the bottom, or you can start at the top, whichever way, but I normally start at the bottom, and then click on your bottom layer, then hold control and left click, and as you do that, it's going to select everything that you have. Did I get everything? Yes. So then you're going to Control J, and it's going to duplicate those, and it's going to have your new duplicate selected. Then you're going to go to Edit, you're going to go to Transform, and you're going to Flip Horizontal. And that's going to flip everything upside down. Actually, not horizontal. I'm so sorry. 180, I'm sorry. It is transform, flip 180. And that's going to flip everything upside down. And then you basically just hold shift and you kind of move it, and you try your best to line it up with what's on the bottom. And yeah, that is it. That is all your field indicators. Now, what I would do is I would take them all and I would group them into individual folders. And the way you do that is the same way as before. Hold Control and left click to select all of the things that you want to put in your folder. Hold Control, press G, and then you can just click to hide those individually. And next, we're actually going to move on to the actual process of editing the field. So what you can do is go over and pick your rectangle tool, or you can select your square marquee tool. It is really up to you how you want to do this. Do you want them to be in color, or do you just want the outlines? For this tutorial, I am literally just going to do the outlines. So I take my rectangular marquee tool and I just kind of trace the outline roughly like that, right? And then I Control Shift N, make a new layer, and then in that kind of dotted line area, it'll turn into this square looking arrow. See, if you move it out, it's like your selector, but if you move it in, it's that little indicator. You right click and you select stroke. Now for the stroke, I'm gonna try 8 pixels, and see, that is too much. So Control Z that away. Let's try 4. 4 is also a little much. And this is where you just have to, whoops, didn't mean to click fill. This is really where you just have to experiment on what looks good for you. 2 pixels, perfect. So just like before, I'm going to Control J, and I'm just going to move these around to where they need to go until I am ready to put the color in. So I will be back in a second. Okay, and there we are. I have all of our little field and deck and option, all these little squares done. And if you turn your stuff back on, and let's go ahead and hide this graphic, that is what it looks like. It's actually starting to come along pretty nicely. It's just a slow process, and this tutorial is I wouldn't say that I've been dreading it, but it is one that I was going to do later. But I wanted to get it out because it was requested, and I really wanted to try to answer your question as best as I could. Hopefully this isn't too long-winded. So same process for these 2 boxes as before. So you're just going to take your rectangle marquee tool, and you're just going to draw a rectangle like so. Control-Shift-N to make a new layer. Then you're going to fill that with a stroke of 2. Then, with this one, it's a lot easier because you just can Control-J it and then move it down like so. You could actually probably get away with doing that a little bit bigger than that didn't copy over, right? Okay, so there are our rectangles, and then for your extra zones here, it is the same process. Go ahead and make your new layer first with Control-Shift-N. Take your rectangle marquee tool and draw your rectangles. Go ahead and fill that in with a stroke of 2 pixels. And honestly, it doesn't have to be 2 pixels. It can be whatever size looks best for you. I am just trying to keep the dimensions roughly the same just to ensure that everything fits where it's supposed to. Let's go ahead and zoom out. So let me change that to 100%. And let's hide that. And that is our rough layout so far. I wish this would go away. There we go. This is our rough layout so far. And if you wanted to, you could just hide that black and save this, and you would be done. But this has no color in it, so it's a little bit on the boring side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide all of these boxes, which I probably should have grouped. If that is one tip that I can give for this whole graphics process, is make folders for your stuff so stuff's not so confusing. So we'll go to group 2 here. We're going to look for and also name your stuff. So that is our pendulum zone on the right, which I believe is blue. Luckily we have this image down here. It is in fact blue. So right click on that, go to blending options. You can do these as just color, or you can add a gradient. I think gradients look really, really nice. So let's go to gradient overlay. Okay, kind of had a little technical difficulty there. So I'm going to give it a gradient overlay. I'm going to keep this kind of like lighter blue. And I'm going to kind of get I'm going to move this up the blue spectrum here and kind of get a darker blue like that. Maybe move the light blue in a little bit more. You have to okay that first. What am I doing? And then this is really where it just becomes all experimental on what you think looks good. So I am, let's see, can I reverse that? Okay, so I kind of sat there for a minute and I thought about it before I actually decided to, press record again. I'm actually going to use this, I think. So just click OK. Then you find your red one. And you do the same thing. Go to blending options, go to gradient overlay, and set your gradient. Okay, so now we have our pendulum zones colored, and then we're just going to leave that as a white. I think we will leave the rest. I think we'll leave the rest as white too. But it is the same process all the way through as far as gradient overlays are concerned. Probably what I will do is now I will do the field elements. Okay, so I went with this green on the overlay there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the layer that I added the blending options to, and I'm going to copy layer style. And for this particular example, I want it all to be in green. So I'm going to control left click on all of the field elements that I want to be green. Then I'm just going to right click on one of them and paste layer style. Then I'm going to add the group elements back to it, and I'm going to get rid of this image. And that is it. So now you pretty much just do your normal routine, file save as. You're going to save it on your computer. You're going to go to, whoops, it was already there. But you're going to go to where your EDO Pro folder is. We've got the tutorial folder right there. Project Ignis. Going to scroll down to textures. And we're going to change this from a PSD to a PNG. The field that we were working on was field 3, I believe. Yes, field 3 is the one that we were working on. Yes. So right click on field 3, go to rename, and as always, change that field 3 to a field 3 copy. And then you are just going to save your field 3 as a PNG and click save. And then I normally pick the largest because, you know, I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and when I come back, we will be in the game, and you guys can see what it looks like. Okay, here we are in the deck builder of EDO Pro, mainly because you can just go to test hand and see what it looks like, and oh, look at that, there's our field. And as you can see, it does the grids for you. If you wanted to, you could grid it out yourself, but normally I just don't really worry about it. Mainly because, like I said, the game is going to grid it for you. And I'm just, you know, kind of playing some stuff to kind of give you an example of all of the things that we have made. So as you can see, we've got our custom card back, we've got our custom field, we've got our custom background. I'm working on getting the life bars done and stuff. I've got a few more ideas for tutorials that I want to do. I'm just I'm not 100% on how much more that I'm gonna know how to edit, because there's some of the stuff that I haven't really looked into. But that's it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that this helped you and answered your question. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know down in the comment section below what's the next thing you want me to work on with EDO Pro. But I'm Emerald Void. Thanks for watching, and before I go, I've just got one question for you. Are you feeling nostalgic yet?